You'll remember that he came into Baba Yaga's kingdom, is that right? He saw her hut that stood on a single chicken's foot. He saw the 12 stakes around her house. 11 of them had young men's heads on them, and the 12th was empty. And then she said to him one of those questions. What is your aim in life, young man? And he said, no, Grandma. He didn't say, you ugly bitch. You know how many men say that when you bring up the whole question of Baba Yaga and the witch? They call her a bitch. Makes me so sad. Whoa. He says, Grandma, you know it's not right to ask a traveler questions before you fed him. You know that, Grandma. Ah, yes, she said, you're right. So she feeds him a dead mouse or something like that. And when I was doing this with Marion Woodman, she just passed me something invisible, you know, and I said, it's a dead mouse. And I said, it's a mouse. I said, it's got whipped cream on it. She said, it's alive. That's very nice. Then he said to her, Grandma, do you know where the kingdom 3 times 10 is? Because you see, I'm looking for the golden queen. Do you know, Grandma? I don't. I don't know where she is. I don't have any idea. But maybe my younger sister knows, you know. Your younger sister? Yeah, she's down the road here a couple of miles. Go on down there. You'll hear her. She'll probably hear her sharpening her teeth, you know, with her file. So he goes down the road, and sure enough, he hears the sound of the teeth being filed, and there she is, and she says, ah, yes! Ah! American boys haven't come here for a long time, and now the American bones are coming on their own. Did you come here of your own free will, young man, or did someone send you? It's hard not to respond to that, you know, with a little uppity stuff. But he says, Grandma, you know, I do love your energy and the wonderful facial expressions that you have. But, you know, it's not quite right to ask a traveler questions until you've fed him. Isn't that right, Grandma? She said, yeah, that's right. Oh, good. Now, I'll answer your question, Grandma, if you will answer one of mine. Okay. What's the answer? Well, I came, you see, because 2/3 of my being and my knowledge and everything like that told me I had to be here, and then about 3/4 of the people I know told me I had to come. That's why I'm here, 162%. She says, all right, what's your question? Do you know where the Golden Queen is? You see, I've been looking for her for about 20 years. I don't know. I don't have any idea. Maybe my younger sister knows. Try her, she's down the road. By the way, I'll tell you something. She eats a lot of people. You got to be real careful with her. She's not sensitive the way I am. And I'll tell you one more thing. When you go through the whole thing, I want you to ask her if you can blow on her horns. Have you got your conch here? And she'll hand you the horns. You ask for all 3. and you blow the first one lightly, the second one a little stronger, and the third one still stronger. You got it? I do, Grandma. Thank you. Well, when you get near her place, there are hearses coming and going. I mean, she really helps that business a lot. And there are the usual stakes there. Dole's head on one, Clinton's on another. There's still room for you. Are both of those adversarial guys? They're both adversarial guys. So when he gets there, she's sharpening her teeth. She's got one of those things about 3 feet long. And she loves the sound of it going against her teeth. And she does, yes! It's a nice Christian boy. Christian boys haven't been here for a long time, and now these little Christian bones are coming on their own. Did you come of your own free will, or did someone send you, you little shit? He says, now, Grandma, you know it's not right. I mean, we remember Grandma's manners, don't we, Grandma? It's not right to do this until you've fed the traveler. So she gives him some spam from 1820, you know, and stuff like that. All right, did you come on your own, or did someone send you here? And he gives the ritual answer. I came 81% because I knew I had to do this, and I came 93% because I had no other choice. Everyone, my mother, my father, my grandfathers, my grandmothers, everyone sent me. That's how I got here, Grandma. She looks at him. A live one. Incredible. They don't produce those anymore. She says, okay, what is your question? By the way, could I play one of your horns? Okay. So she gives him a horn. He goes, boom. That's good, Grandma. Could I have another? Boom. That's very sweet, Grandma. Can I have another one? And suddenly a firebird comes down. A firebird, a huge bird covered with brilliant red, gold, and green feathers. It's a firebird, starts descending down towards him, and all the feathers falling off the breast of the firebird. He comes down like this, and he says, hurry up, jump on, she's going to get you. And he jumps on the firebird and starts to take off, and Baba Yaga gives this incredible scream. And she reaches and catches 4 feathers from the tail of the firebird. And then he's gone. He's out of there. He's gone. So what is that? I think the horns have something to do with opening your throat chakra. Learning to speak loudly, forcefully. It's also something to do with eloquence. Don't you think so? Yes. It's what they don't teach in school. Lincoln had a good voice. Strong. So you could spend the next year doing that. It's almost impossible for Americans to speak in a loud voice without anger. It's one of the things the Japanese notice. Japanese will come and you're sitting there in a Zen exercise, and they'll come by and they'll go, what? And you're to hear that and not even move a muscle. But it doesn't work with the Japanese, with the American Zen teachers, because when they say the what behind you, there's anger in it. It's meant to be a sound without anger. It is a loud sound without anger. That's interesting to me. And what is a firebird? What is a firebird? Been preserved only in the Russian stories. What is a firebird? What? You're making it less now than it is. Don't say you're wrong. Why go to the trouble of imagining a firebird if you could have said the spirit? What? It's closer, maybe. Passion. Yeah. What is a firebird? Recreation. It's okay, but you're answering an image with a noun. Firebird has got energy, it's got feathers, it's got, Michael tells one of the stories that the young man is walking through the woods, or riding through the woods in one of Michael's stories, and suddenly all the birds are still. And he realizes a firebird is near. Then he looks down from his horse and he sees a single feather on the ground. So, we don't mean this as a trick question, but just, what is a firebird? How are you going to get a noun or something big enough to match that?
Creativity. Creativity.
It's another goddamn noun.
What did the guy's horse say when he was going after that feather?
A horse said, don't pick it up. It'll just lead to trouble. Is that right?
If you pick up that feather, you will know the meaning of fear.
Fear, all right.
Guaranteed.
What is a firebird then? Give us the answer. Give us the answer. But he's already put it into a form that isn't a noun. It is that which, when you get near it, you will know fear. That's a good answer. What else? You see, that's what we're talking about here. The ancients used images, and we diffuse it constantly with one of our damn New Age nouns, like creativity or whatever. They're all good nouns, but
it's a glimpse. It's a glimpse of the. It's a glimpse of the world of spirit.
okay, that's got two nouns in it. That's better.
Well, 80% of that, and then it's 90%.
Very nice, very nice. You said a glimpse of the spirit or the spirit world?
Glimpse of the spirit world.
Yep.
And a challenge.
Yep.
Challenge to enter into that.
And you could say it's like an enormous vagina that opens and behind it is not the womb but the unbelievable whatever stars or whatever you want to say. Anyone else want to give us a yes, please?
Passage from the underworld?
Yes, you can also say it that way. It is that which takes you up out of the underworld. Right? There's not a single noun in the way in there. It is that huge, whatever it is, that takes you out of the underworld. So therefore, what is that? What is that?
So it's a rebirth of passion.
Well, that's two nouns linked together with a single preposition. You got to go to your own life. You got to go to your own life. You got to talk about when you were in real depression and what pulled you out of that.
Is this related to a phoenix?
Yeah, it's related, but it's just probably illegitimately. Anyway, this is a firebird.
Catharsis.
No, not Greek now. No shit. We could stay here a long time, but we don't have time to. It'd be terrifically interesting to stay here a long time and see how we can move out of nouns. When we're giving nouns, we're like school children who are being asked to give the correct answer. And that's what happened to us. If we gave the right answer, then the teacher said, yeah, you told a good lie, so you're a good kid. So, isn't that right? So that some way we have to learn to answer without the noun.
How about a desire to live in the face of good reason to die?
What do you think, Martin?
Well, they probably by the time he said it would have been killed by the witch. But I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good.
That which makes the heart beat.
That's what makes the heart beat. But it makes more than the heartbeat. Because this Firebird is coming down from some world where there must be others like him or her, right? God knows what goes on up there. So let's all make a sound of the Firebird. Go ahead. That's not so bad. So if a teacher, in the second grade asks you when was Lincoln born, you say, "Ah!" That's the correct answer. That's the correct answer. But then, you're hyperactive and they put you on Prozac or something. What is the Firebird? That which makes young boys hyperactive. That which the schools hate.
That's when you start to react to, they say,
Don't get him started.
Don't get him started. Yes.
Calm down. Calm down. Calm down.
What?
That was coming from.
That's very good. That which comes when you open your throat chakra and you really can make a sound, then that is what comes. And it was very...
That which
Requires the teacher to send you to the principal when you
Yes, that's right. And it was interesting is when Marion and I were doing this little thing in front of an audience of 20 people or so, and they were filming and so on, Marion did something at this moment that she hadn't planned to do. Because when I was there and I said, here's the Firebird, and I climbed on and I said, I'm going. And she fell down on her face in front of everyone with this terrible scream, "Ah!" And she was really crying. And so we really didn't have, neither one of us saw the possibility of the underworld there. But what happened immediately after that was that they said, why are you crying? And she said, because that's what I want. I want to get on that and I never can. And men can get on that thing and I can't. Robert gets on it and I can't. And she was saying, he writes poetry and I'm a psychotherapist. That's what she was saying. I'm a psychotherapist, that's what she was saying. But then all the women came in immediately after that. It's very interesting on the film because all the women came in and they say, my mother wanted to climb on the Firebird, but she was always cooking eggs and doing things like that, and she was never able to do that. And she was always washing dishes for everybody, and then all that anti-male stuff came in. And then one or two of the men says, wait a minute, what are you talking about? My father wanted to climb on the Firebird. You know that he worked 12, 15 hours a day? How many men do I know that have climbed on the Firebird? What are you saying? Well, then that reality came back in again. It was terrifically interesting to watch that whole swing. But the women are really crying and determined that all men get on the Firebird, and none of them did. And then, of course, Marion said, well, Emily Dickinson was on the Firebird. There ain't no question about that. And so on. Yes? That's nice. He said it's about getting carried away, but not by drugs. Is that right? Not by alcohol. Something not watery in it at all.
And there's that phrase that people are always saying to you, now don't get carried away. Don't get carried away.
What?
A vehicle for will.
No, that's two more nouns with another preposition in the middle. What I made a promise that I would never get on. I'd like to talk about it, but I don't plan to get on it. Well, whatever, I don't know. Anyone else want to stay a minute more? What is a Firebird? It's something that carries you out of the underworld and out of depression, and carries you away from this Thanatos, what they're talking about with the young kids and the drugs. That's Thanatos. That's the Greek word for death. And Freud said there are two great powers in life. Eros is one and Thanatos is another. And he never made up that until he saw what Europe did in the First World War. And then Eros, love, intensity, the desire to unite and have fire. And the second one is Thanatos, the desire to die. And he said he saw that Europe had that instead of Eros when he saw the First World War. And the Second World War made it really clear. And then the way that we killed all the Africans and all the Native Americans that we came in contact with who had more Eros than we did made it very clear that we're in the service of Thanatos. And none of the Native people have any doubts about that. Is that right? Don't have any doubts about that. But now our kids have got it. Now the young ones are being dominated entirely by Thanatos. And no one knows what to do with that because, as Freud said, Thanatos is a god. I got news for you. Thanatos is a god. And when he gets a hold of you, he does what he wants. So anyway, where are we?
It's that which is frightening to get on, but less frightening than what you have mind.
Problem is your voice is too calm. You must be insane. I mean, I'm talking straight to you.
Yeah, I understand.
But isn't it something a little bit beyond your consciousness?
Oh yeah, I think so.
So you hear us talk about all those nouns anyway.
Sure, that's good.
A little bit beyond all that stuff.
I think that's exactly why you give the Firebird. It's something that dropping feathers and it comes in, the whole atmosphere changes and you don't know what the hell's going on. And you really don't. And what?
You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You probably just can't.
And then you got to make sure in this culture that you're on the Firebird and you're not on the Thanatos trip. Because they can resemble each other.
Oh, yeah.
Thanatos has no consciousness either. And some people without, inability to distinguish things in this culture, take one instead of the other. What are you thinking, Thomas?
The Firebird is a horse which will burn you if you stay in its saddle too long.
Firebird is a horse that'll burn you. That's right. Yes, please.
I was thinking because that which flies over, when a man remembers or begins to remember why he came.
It's not bad. That which flies over now that same thing in the forest. He was on his horse, he'd been a long time in the forest, and he's beginning to remember what he's out there for, and suddenly he looks down and he sees a feather of the Firebird on the floor. And that's when the horse says, if you pick that up, you will know the meaning of the word fear. Yeah, I think we got to go on quickly.
During dinner last night, I don't know if I was sitting
Across from Tom Buck, and something came through the dining hall,
Something came through what?
which made everybody in the room silent.
That's right.
About 4 or 5 times. Did you notice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? What was it?
So if you can describe it, then you will not describe the Firebird.
Well, I didn't get that one, but
No, I mean, this thing comes to the dining hall and was saying, all this.
what Tom was talking?
No, nobody was talking. It's just a pressure drop.
All of a sudden, everybody stopped. No noise.
It's pressure drop.
That's interesting. Well, that's interesting. Yep, that's right. Tom, you had one thing, Thomas?
I just think it's taking a risk on some project, vast and foolish project like Noah.
Yeah. Also, I thought of it this morning that you said the words the other night. That you were talking to this Blake, and you came down into the bosom of God, the human imagination. Now, if you could get both those two things together, there's something of God here. There's no question about it. And yet, it's got something to do with the human imagination. It's got something to do with the bosom. It's got something to do with the bosom. That's why the feathers falling off the breast are such a wonderful symbol. All right. What? There's an exaltation. Yeah, that's right. But exaltation does mean going up. So therefore, now I think from our story, he's out of the underworld. And it's a little different answer than the Mayans gave about that. But he's out of the underworld now. Is he going to find her now? Is the Firebird going to settle all that? He says to the Firebird, you know this whole territory? The country called 3 times 10? You know that? Yeah, I know that, yeah. Will you take me there? I'm sorry, but I can't go that far. Even the gods have limits, is that right? He says, I'll take you to the shore of the sea. That's as far as I can go. Now, you can get down, and if you walk long enough, you'll find the hut of an old lady. Goodbye. And so the Firebird takes and puts him down on the shore of the sea. He walks and 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 walks, and he comes to the hut where there's an old lady living alone. I don't think we're in the underworld anymore. We're in the hut of an old woman. We're in the feminine, but it's an old feminine. Is that right? She is not. She doesn't have files and stuff like that. She says, well, you're a good-looking boy. What is it you want? I'm looking for the Golden Queen because I saw her once and then I lost that. And do you know where she is? Actually, I'll tell you, it's a strange thing. My daughter is one of the 30 women. But she said, I'll have to tell you something now. I want you to listen carefully. If you saw her right now, she would tear you to pieces, because she is really angry at you. She is so angry at you that if she saw you, she would rip you to shreds on the spot. Same scene, isn't it? Jung said the same thing. Everything that you have not honored in your life, when you look again, will be angry at you and want to kill you. Including religion, including the feminine, including imagination, including art. If you haven't honored these things and you put them in your bag and left them there, when you open the bag again 20 years later, they won't be sweet as they were when you put them in. And then you'll get scared. You'll write a poem, it'll have so much violence in it that you'll say, oh, I don't think I better write this. So she said, you know, that love that she had for you, I don't know where it is now. I'll ask my daughter when she comes tomorrow. Meanwhile, I'll put you in a pin. I'll make you a pin and put you in a wall. So when my daughter comes, you can listen. There's something very good about that. Turn you into a pin and put you into the wall. All that masculine activity has to end at some point. Is that right? There's something good about this. I don't know, we can't go on too long with this pin thing, but that's what's said in the story. So her daughter comes back. She puts him into a pin, puts him in the wall, and she says to the daughter, your mistress, the queen, does she still love Ivan? Her love for Ivan is inside a great oak tree. And if you open up the oak tree, you find there a casket, a little box. And inside that box, there's a hare, a rabbit, a wild hare. And inside that hare, there's a duck. And inside that duck, there's an egg. And her love for this Ivan is inside that egg. So Ivan hears that. Now, there must be already some interiorization going on if he's willing to be put into the wall. Is that right? The old externalization is gone, and he is willing to be turned into a pin because he needs the knowledge. Well, so when he comes out, she takes him back, and the girl goes. She says to her mother, by the way, it's her birthday, you know, a week from today. It's the birthday of the great Golden Queen. Well, says the old woman, let's have a birthday party for her here. Okay, I'll tell her. Got a week, kid. And I think we're in real interiorization here. Is that right? The oak tree, it's the oldest tree associated with religion in all of Europe. Those Celts worshipped under oak trees. They were completely sacred. When the Romans really wanted to destroy them, they started to cut down the oak groves. And inside that, there's a casket, one of those beautiful little boxes. What's inside the casket? A hare. We know that the hare, as a matter of fact, is the mother of the great goddess, is the being of the great goddess. And it turned out a few years ago that there's a great goddess in northern Scotland called Ea, and she's connected with two things, rabbits and eggs. Easter is the time when the little rabbits go about and they have their eggs and they hide them on the White House lawn. And everybody does that in the White House lawn and never asks what it means.
How far back does that go?
2000 BC, 3000 BC, 4000 BC. Iya is her name. That's some she has rabbits and eggs, and to honor her you hide the eggs. We're moving down here. We don't know what direction we're going, but we're going from an oak thing down to the enclosed casket, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. And it could be even an Egyptian mummy box. Then you're going to the Great Mother in the Moon, yes. The Mother of Midwives, the goddess of midwives, and eggs. And then inside that hair, there's a duck. What are you going to do with the duck? It lives in several worlds at the same time.
It comes and goes.
It also migrates.
Mm-hmm. So, and then there's the egg. Inside that duck, there's the egg. There are a number of European stories in which there's a giant who has no heart. He's very dangerous. And they find out that there's a concentric circle, there's a big island, and there's a church, and then inside the church there's a well, and inside the well there's a duck, and inside the duck there's eggs. So these are also concentric circles. And in that case, you find out that the heart of the giant is inside the egg. And you kill the giant by squeezing the egg. So it says that not only is the one that you have forgotten now angry at you for your forgetting, but even if you find out where her love for you once was, the same love that came up to you on the raft and said, "Is it you, Ivan?" Then you have to realize, for example, that Johann Sebastian Bach never lost her. That's what his music means. Every time he sat down to write, she said, "Is it you, Ivan? Is it you? Oh, it's you again." And by the way, he never signed his books, his music, Bach. He signed them S.J.D., solely for the glory of God. And now an interesting thing is coming, and I never even noticed it until this morning. So there's two warnings. Because you forgot, there's a lot of hostility you're going to have to go through in the other underworld. And you got to learn how to do that, because your angers are not going to do you any good at all. Now you got to learn courtly love, and you got to learn manners, and you have to learn how to talk to divinities in a polite way. Marx doesn't do you any good at all here. And secondly, you have to realize that love is still existent in the world. I love that. That love is still present. It's not gone. There's no need to despair or want to commit suicide, because that love is in this world. Is that right? Martin, it is still here.
Still.
But the problem is that you're going to have to learn to do a lot of things that your father and grandfather never learned how to do, if you're going to find that. So it sounds like reading, doesn't it? It sounds like studying. It sounds like, well, I don't know what it sounds like.
Incubating.
All right, are you ready then? We're nearly done with the story. So, he takes the egg back, and the old lady says, "They're coming now. They'll be coming tonight for the party. I'm going to dress you in merchant's clothes." She dressed him in merchant's clothes. Those are some of the most brilliantly colored clothes in Russia, just underneath the king. So the next thing that said, you must be well dressed when this meeting takes place. And you got to get rid of your blue jeans and shit like that. Well, blue jeans just mean I forgot her, you know. And I hope nobody will notice me if I'm dressed just like everybody else. So you get rid of your blue jeans, and you get in the closet. So the party is ready. Are you ready for the party? So it's 6 o'clock and the party's about to begin, and 30 swans come flying in through the window. 30 swans come flying into the room, and they adjust their feathers, and they sit down, and they turn into human beings. That's a nice little scene, too. I think there's a little of the Firebird in drumming, don't you think so? And doesn't drumming take you out of depression sometimes? So what does the old lady do? She cooks 29 ordinary eggs. And then she's very careful to keep this other egg separate. And she gives that to the Golden Queen woman. She saves that egg, cooks it exactly 4 minutes, puts it on her plate. And suddenly, says, I wonder if Ivan is anywhere. I wonder if Ivan is still alive.
Who says that?
The queen.
After she ate the egg?
Yep. As soon as she's eaten the egg, she says, oh, it's strange. The thought of Ivan came in my head. I haven't thought of him for so long. I wonder if Ivan is still alive. And her face flushes a little bit, as women's do, when they feel that heart waking up again. And so the old lady, you need an old lady for this, is that right? Looks like you need an old lady. Isn't that true? Looks like you better be reconciled to that part of the feminine. The part that our culture hates. And she's an old woman that's not going to use skin creams. You got to get over that fear when you look at an older woman. Because when you look at her face, it says, I'm going to die, by the way, you are too. And that's why we hate her in this country. So there's some way. And I think in the real world it would mean that you begin cultivating your friendships with older women. Everything happens in 2 worlds at once, isn't it? How many old women do you know who love you? How many old women do you know that you have made a point to love? Invite them out for tea. Send them poems. That's what the poem says. So then the old lady says, oh, you'll be surprised at what I have in the closet. And she opens the door and Ivan comes out. And they decided then to go back to her kingdom. Ivan never went back to the kingdom where his mother was. They went back to her kingdom. That was her idea in the very beginning when she appeared on the boats. Someone is trying to get you to move to her kingdom. Dante did it. All the Provençal love poets did it. There's something about women, you know that they belong to a great kingdom. And they know that they're quarrelsome and bitchy and all. They know all that. They don't mind it if you notice. But they also know that they belong to a great kingdom. And they wonder when you're going to wake up and find that out. I wish we could spend another day on this story, but we can't because time moves on.
Let's thank Robert for that.
No, well.